right, I think we got it. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you guys hear me? All right. I'm so sorry about that. Okay, it looks like you can hear me now. There's a little bit of a delay going here. So I apologize for the issues we had here. Let me just get on camera here. Yeah, I'm really sorry for the delay and everything. It looks like the software has been changed since we last did this, and I could not get it to work. So I had to put the old software back on, and fortunately, we are up and running now. So I'm just really sorry for the delay. But why don't we just get started then? Well, I'll greet a few people, I guess. I see a lot of familiar faces in here. It's good to see you guys. Looks like we got some channel supporters in here as well. Great to see you. ViewCam, DP Drugs. And then we've got of course, we've got Bruce in the house. So the Bruce is loose. Thank you, Bruce, for entertaining everyone while we were trying to get these technical issues sorted out there. Like Scott Mumford, good to see you. Who else we got here? We got Frank, Bob, Donna, Rhett. I remember you. Yep, there's some some faces here from the Life from Lockdown days. We've got Turtle Slayer, Donna, Ralph. Good to see you. We've got people from all over, from Florida, from California. Richard, Jenny, good to see you. Long Island, Stu. So, Stu Braithwaite from New Zealand, good to see you. Andrew Kavanagh, good to see you. All right, so why don't we just get started right now because I'm just going to share the screen here, because we did lose a little bit of time at the beginning. Thank you so much once again for your patience. And we're going to look at some of the new features inside of Photoshop 2026. So why don't we jump in here? We're going to start with, actually I've got my bridge open and the other screen here. I'm just going to bring in the images from here. So one of the things I do want to start with is Harmonize, because I guess it's one of the big features that everybody's making a lot of noise about. I've got a little tip I'm going to show you with it as well, but let's open this into Photoshop. All right, so Harmonize, for those who don't already know, I think a lot of you already do, but essentially what this is going to do is it's going to match the light, the color, shadows, all those kind of things when we're combining images. So I'm going to start by cutting out this image. And this also brings me to another feature. And that's remove background and select subject. Even though those are not necessarily new, what is new is with the 2026 release, when we used to use these, when we would go to select subject, I would always say, hey, make sure that we're using cloud, because the cloud was much better. And the reason for that is about 6 months ago or so, I have a terrible sense of time, Adobe significantly improved the algorithm on this to do a much, much better job of selecting it. But now this algorithm is also local device. So that means that your local machine can do that. And I've done some tests, and it looks like the quality of the selection is just as good. So the good news is you don't have to send it to the cloud anymore to do these cutouts. We can now do it local, which means if you don't have an internet connection or you don't want to send your image to the cloud and you just want to save time, you can do it. So if we hit select subject, I'll show you, see that quickly, it can select it. But what I'm going to do, because there's another option here that says remove background, we're going to do that. And look how quick that happened. Now, remove background uses exactly the same algorithm as select subject. So all it's doing is it's selecting the subject and then just masking out the background for us. And if we look at the edges of this selection, you can see it's really good. Let me hide the background for a moment so you can see. And we'll look at a little bit more at this feature in a second. We're going to, just to save a little bit of time, let's put the background back on again. All right, so I don't know about you, but I've spent, I feel like, years of my life making selections. I am very, very happy for these new selection tools. All right, so the thing is, though, we've cut this out, but there's no shadow. It looks like it's just kind of floating in there. The colors don't match, the lighting, nothing really matches. And that's what Harmonize does. So if I click on Harmonize, now it's going to go ahead and it's going to match this for us. And it will also create a shadow. If there's any liquid or any water, anything like that, it will also create reflections for us. All right, and look at that. We get 3 variations. So if you don't like the first one, we could try the second variation or the third variation. Which one do you like best? I think maybe the third or the first. Now, one of the things you'll notice too is shadows have also been created for us. All right, so this is great. Now, one of the areas I would probably use this for is if you're just trying to do something quickly. We can do a pretty good job. Now, I've compared this, and I've actually done a tutorial. You can check it out on YouTube on our channel here, which we're on right now, where I compare this to doing it by hand. And if your skills are not being replaced by this, if you do it by hand, you can still do a better job than what we're doing here. If you're a newer user, then obviously Harmonize is going to do a better job than maybe you can do by hand right now. If you're more experienced and you can spend a little bit more time, you can do it yourself and get better results. So I would say this is really good. You know, if you just want to knock something out really quickly, and the results are good, they're believable. But there is a little bit of a caveat with this. If we look at it, I'm going to hide this and we're going to look at the image. This is the caveat. If I go to 100% and I've hidden the mask, because what it does is it recreates the entire layer and then it creates a mask to show the background. I think you saw it. If I hide the mask, looking at the entire image, we've lost a lot of resolution and a lot of quality. So if I hold the shift key and turn the mask on, this is what it's doing, is it's masking out the subject. And maybe now you can see that we've got the original background, but we've got the generated top here, and you can see the loss of resolution. See that? Before, after. Yes, the colors and the tones match, we get the shadows, but we've lost our resolution. So there's a couple of ways you could work with this. One way, you could just grab the shadows off here and just paint them away. Or we have other ways that we can recover the resolution. But before I do, let me show you a little trick here. So that's the generated, and we're just going to call this one HL for harmonized layer. And I'm going to hide this for a sec. I'm going to show you a little hack I came up with. If I make a selection around the background, and I go to the background layer, and I'm just going to copy this to a layer, Control Command J. Now if I hide the background, you can see now we have a smaller area. Because what we can do is if we can concentrate that resolution into this smaller area, then we are actually going to be able to maximize that resolution and get a better result. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to select both layers. I'm going to right click and I'm going to convert this to a smart object. Now, if I turn the background on, you can see everything matches. So the thing about a smart object is if I double click, it will take me into a new document. And this is a PSB. Now this document thinks, and quite correctly, that we're working on a smaller document. This is the space we're working with. So if I decide to go within the smart object now and choose Harmonize, this is going to harmonize again now, but what it's doing is it's now concentrating these pixels into this smaller document, which means that we're going to get a lot more out of it. I see someone has a question in, how do we make a donation for the photoshopCAFE? Well, thank you for that. You can do a super chat, a super like. You'll see the supers there on YouTube. And if you click on those, I appreciate that. All right. So if we look at this now, let's look at the better result. I think let's go with the middle one. So here's the thing. I'm just going to hit Control S to save. And now we can close this. And now what it's done is it's updated this now with the image from that smart object. Remember, the smart object's still here. It's just being updated. The shadow, everything has been applied. Let's get a little bit closer now, and let's look at the original one. Look at this. This is when I harmonized it, just doing the whole document. And then here is when we did it with that smart object trick that I just showed you. Look at the hat. Before, resolution spread across the entire image. Here, now it's concentrated in that smaller area. And look at that. Significant improvement in the quality. The hair, the dress, the hat. Before, after. So hopefully that little hack is going to help you to get some better results. Now there's another new feature which is also going to help us. Let me open up an image and I'm going to show you this really useful feature here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this image that I have been using this image for years, by the way. If you've ever seen my tutorial, cutout impossible images, I've been using this for over a decade. So this is one of the things that happens. Sometimes you have an image that's older, and also if you're working with AI, one of the things you'll notice, the resolution is really small. This is 575 pixels by 858 pixels. Now, I have a lot of images, maybe a little bit larger than that, but from earlier digital cameras that are not very high resolution. Sometimes I have images that are given to me, and I would love to have a higher resolution on them. And then other times, when we're working in a situation like this, when we're working with the AI, and it gives us that low resolution. So something has been added here, and that is generative upscale. Now, there's two ways we can work with this. One of them is the Adobe Firefly Upscaler. And we could go 4 times larger if we want. And let's hit Upscale. Now, this is okay. You'll see in a minute. It does okay. But there's another new tool in here that does even better that we're going to look at it in a moment. So there we go. So if we look at this and I zoom out, yeah, it's not bad. It's at 54%, but you can see it still looks kind of soft. Yes, it's bigger. And if we look at the original, this would be the original here. Let me go to 100%. So if I was just to choose image resize, this is what we would get here. So we can see, yeah, definitely does a better job. But it can do a lot better. And the way to do that is with the partner models. So when we go to generative upscale, now we can use Topaz Gigapixel. And I'm going to turn it on here. Now, the downside of this is that this uses generative credits, but it also uses what are known as premium generative credits. So if you have the full Creative Cloud, you get unlimited generative credits, but you have a certain amount of the premium credits. Okay, so let's look at this difference here, and we'll talk about that a little bit more just here. I just want to zoom out. Look at the quality of this now. Look how nice and clean. Look at the feathers here. This result is really, really good. Now, I was going to say, if you already have Topaz Gigapixel, then you don't need to use the generative upscale. You can use it as a plugin inside of Photoshop. If you don't have it and you don't have the Creative Cloud subscription, one of the things you could do is go to Topaz and check out how much it costs for Topaz, and then compare that compared to what usage you're going to have, and then you can decide whether or not it makes sense for you. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this in, and I'm going to show you the difference. Look at this. This is the size we went from up to here, and it just looks fantastic. So this is a great option. So hopefully, I'm sure you've probably discovered it. Maybe you haven't tried it yet. Oh, someone here, Davey, saying, I used Topaz in a few images, and after 3 images, it said I had to buy premium credits. Yeah, that's the downside I was talking about. Now, I did do a tutorial. It's on photoshopcafe.com, and also it's on YouTube, where I'm talking about generative credits and what things do require credits and which ones don't. And once again, don't shoot me. I'm just the messenger, and I'm just showing you the features. The credits, it comes down to, once again, if you're going to be using these features a lot, sometimes the generative credits will be less expensive than the Topaz subscription individually, depending, once again, on your usage. So check out the prices of those. Check out the prices of the Topaz, and just do what makes sense for you. All right, so, but I can say that the Gigapixel just works really well. The other option in here, by the way, they have this other one. Let's go here, Generative Upscale. They have the other one here, Topaz Bloom. I don't use Bloom because it doesn't give a very realistic result. It's a good tool to use if you're doing like fantasy art or different things like that, where you're just trying to enhance an image and make it look really pretty, and you're not worried about it looking like the original. So I would say, something that's not a photographic image, maybe. It could be like a composite or something fantasy. It's fine, but it will add a lot of different things that were not in the original image. So I don't use that. I just use the Gigapixel. Now, there is another option inside of Photoshop that it's not showing here, which actually works quite well. Let me show you this. I'm going to open this image again. And this is not a new feature, but it's surprisingly good. So if you're in here and you use filter, and then we go to the neural filters. And if we go down to super zoom, I don't know if you've used this, but it actually works quite well. So if we just hit the plus a few times, I'm hitting plus 4 times. And this is going to output it as a new document. So if you don't have it downloaded, you'll see a little cloud thing. Click on here. This does not cost anything to use. This is one of the original AIs using Adobe Sensei before they came out with Firefly. And I'm going to click OK. And you can see it's not bad. It's pretty good. It's better, I think, than using the generative upscale with Firefly. But it depends on the image too, so you can compare it. I've also done another tutorial on this, which you can check out on the channel here, which shows you like all the different algorithms, because there's actually 4 different AI resizing algorithms inside Photoshop. So I compared them all for you. Not going to get into that right now. All right, so let me show you another thing that we kind of hinted on earlier on, and that is the new improvements with the cutouts. They're just really, really good. So I'm just going to open this right now into Photoshop. And that's not the one I want. I have a higher resolution of that. Let me get the higher resolution one. Here we go, coming right up. There, much better. All right, so when I talked about remove background or select subject, let me just click on remove background. And I want to show you how well this works, because this is not an easy image. If we go back to the image, we've got a lot of, it's not a simple background. And I don't know if you've ever tried to cut out spokes. Very difficult to select. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a color here, just a solid color, so you can see. So we can see the result. Let's just go for something like a red that's going to be really easy. I'll bring it down just a little bit so it's easier on your eyes. And we put it underneath. Let's zoom in to 100%. And look at the quality we're getting there. Now, remember, this is just the first step. When you're actually doing cutouts, there's other things that we can do that I can touch on right now if you want. But generally speaking, this is just making that selection without doing anything else. That's pretty good. I mean, there's things we could do. We could go into the mask here, and we could make adjustments to that mask. If I hit Control L for levels, I can start to choke up on that mask and see how those edges start to move as we're playing around with that. See that? So that's one way you can kind of do it, to clean up those edges if they get a little jaggy. So you can apply that as well. Of course, the other way is, when you make your selection, let me undo this. Let's just go right back to the original here. Maybe I'll do a select subject. It's found the subject. And then, of course, you'll grab one of the selection tools here and go into select a mask. And then turn that opacity all the way up. You can see the edges there. There's a lot of things we could do here. We could add a smart radius. Start to change that. See how that starts to clean up those edges. There's other things we can do. Decontaminate colors. There's all kinds of different things that we can do in here, which we're not going to go into all of that right now. I just want to let you know that that selection is very good right off the bat, but of course there's all those other things you can do to refine that selection, and also because it's going to work on a layer mask, that this is just going to shave so much time off your workflow. And I found for most images, just using that select subject or remove background is good enough now. You don't even have to do a lot of refining anymore. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Let me open these two images. And of course, if you've got any questions, please drop those questions into the chats there. And hi there in Sweden. Let's have a look. What have we got here? Just make sure. I tried using Topaz on a few images. Oh, okay. Says all right. Says no new comments there. So if you do have any questions or anything like that, pop them in there. And hi there in Tauranga in New Zealand. Great spot. My aunt actually lives over there. All right, so what I'm going to show you here is getting rid of color casts in images directly in Photoshop. Well, yeah, we have good tools to do it inside of Camera Raw, but there's so many situations where you can't necessarily go into Camera Raw. Maybe your image is very large, whatever reason. In Photoshop, it was like very difficult to make those adjustments. We would go in and we'd use things like color balance and different things like that, and try and get it. But here's a problem with doing it with the color balance. Like, we want to get rid of the orange. Okay, so there's little less red. Okay, let's try that. Great. A little less yellow. Okay, yeah, we're getting there. And, we could kind of go in here, And then, okay, but that's the midtones. Okay, what about the shadows? Okay, so we would go to the shadows. And this is literally how we had to do it in Photoshop before. But now they've added, under the, used to be vibrance and saturation, now it's called color and vibrance. So our vibrance and saturation is there. They've finally, after all these years of Photoshop, have given us a temperature and a tint, which is just wonderful. So for those of you who are not familiar, you know, the color temperature is measured in Kelvin. Here's a little scale I made. And we call them warm and cool colors. The warmer colors go to the left, and these are actually a lower Kelvin, things like candlelight. As the light gets more intense and stronger, it becomes bluer. And a blue sky is 10,000 Kelvin. Why is it hotter? Well, you think about a piece of metal. If you heat up a piece of metal, it'll start red, and it'll go into orange, and then eventually it will go into blues and white when it gets really, really hot. So we can change the color temperature, you know, because every color setting has a different amount of light. But there's two parts to this. One of them is temperature, the other one is tint. Now I can adjust the temperature. I can just cool this down and see how it's going to give us a much better result. The other way, it has an eyedropper. We can just point in an area or click in an area that should be neutral. We can fix it. So that's temperature. So what about tint? Well, if we look at tint, tint is a little bit different. We can get a tint from different lights. So this is more like a color cast that's not necessarily set by temperature. So the tint here, we get a green from a fluorescent light. And different types of lights can give that off. And so that's what this second slider here is for. No, not the brightness contrast. Let's go back here. So if we look at the tint, we can see this image is too green. I can just adjust it towards the magentas, and look at that. We just roll that color cast right off. And if we want to boost that color, just hit that vibrance. And it's so easy to fix these colors that would have been very, very difficult before. I do just want to show you something that's really interesting while we're talking about this color. In case you didn't know, let's change this to a color wheel. So when we look at the color wheel, ignore the triangle in the middle. But these are the colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, indigo, all the way around in what's known as a color wheel. If you look at it, there is our temperature going from the blue to the orange. See that? From the blues to the reds, the orange, that's the temperature. If you go on the opposite axis, or axis, notice that's the tint, magenta to green. So this actually gives us control over the entire color wheel. I just wanted to show you that so it would kind of make sense, like maybe help you understand it a little bit better. All right. So let's see where we are now. Oh yeah, we are getting a lot of solar flares right now. Someone was mentioning that. I'm actually going to be heading up north soon. Hopefully, if I'm really lucky, maybe I'll get to see my first, you know, I don't know how many of you have seen them. The auroras. I have never seen an aurora yet. Let me know in the comments if you have seen an aurora lately, or if you've ever seen one. I'm hoping to see my first one maybe in the next couple of weeks. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so let's have a look here, and let's do something else with color. Let's change the color of an object. And we can just do this so much easier than we could before. And I know because of the way this is set up right now, there's quite a bit of a delay. I apologize for that. So I couldn't get the latency down and get this working. Next time we do one of these, don't worry, all these issues are going to be ironed out. All right, so we're talking about adjusting the colors. Now, the way I used to adjust colors was I would go under here, under the adjustment layer, and I would grab a hue saturation adjustment layer. And then with the hue saturation adjustment, I would grab this, I would click on a color I wanted to change, and then change the hue. Obviously need to do some tweaking there. So now this has become a lot easier. Now we have the adjust colors, and there's been a couple of tweaks to this adjust colors since it came out just recently. All right, so if we're looking at this, what it's going to do is it's going to show the prominent colors. That's going to be the 6 prominent colors in the image. Now I'm just pulling this out so you can see, but a lot of the time you can just grab the color you want now and adjust the hue. And see that we can change the color of that hue. Now you can change the saturation if you want to make it more gray. And of course you can change the lightness if you want to make it darker or lighter, literally making it white. So this works pretty well, but occasionally you'll see the colors are not quite getting what we want. So you could create a custom color by grabbing the eyedropper here and clicking. That improves it a little bit. So notice there we just overrode that color. Let me just delete this and start again so I don't mess anything up. So if we choose the adjust colors, you're going to choose your color, grab that eyedropper, and click. Notice it changed it a little bit. We can change the hue here. That definitely got it a lot better. But it looks like in the edges here, it could still do a little bit of tweaking. There's a little bit in the arm that shouldn't be there. So the thing is, when we use this tool, what it does is it creates the hue saturation adjustment layer just like we did it manually. That's all it's doing, is just making it easier to access that tool. Now, if you want to fine tune it, go under the properties and you'll see we have a color range here. We can adjust this color range. Notice as I adjust that, see how it affects less or more? As I move that, watch her arm. See here? That color was in the arm. I'm able to roll that off right there. We can go on the other side. Notice as I adjust that, we can encompass more of the color. And see how I can fine tune it by dragging. Now, if it goes into areas that you don't want, such as the shoes, no problem. Just grab the layer mask. I'm going to grab a brush, and then we can just paint with black and say, hey, I don't want to change the color of the shoes. I just want to change the color of her top. All right, so that's the new adjust color tool, and a little bit of advanced adjustments where we can fine tune it and get a little bit more out of it. All right, let's see what we've got here, and we've got the comments. Oh, that's funny. After 20 years ago, about 20 years ago, I worked on retouching 200 bicycles, and we had an outline of the bikes. Wow. That's nice. That must have been some work. If you see an aurora, be sure to use your iPhone camera, which will see them much better even when you can't see them in the camera. I've been told that too. Thank you for that tip, Susan. Yeah, my friends up north told me that. Like, you're looking in the area of the aurora. If you can't see it, look through your phone, and sometimes it enhances your color. You're right. Great tip. Let's have a look here. Let's look at another one of these options we've got. And I kind of touched on this. Well, actually, I made a tutorial on it. Let me close all these. Let's just close these out quickly. Close, 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 close. All right, I want to go to a blank. So if we just click on the little Photoshop icon, by the way, that's how you can get in here. You can turn that off too in the settings. It's show, is it under the general? I don't want to, maybe it's under here. I don't want to spend too much time on here, but you just like basically, here we go. Auto show home screen. If you turn that off, when you close out the documents, it will stay in Photoshop and not go back to that home screen. Generally speaking, I would turn that off because I don't like to use the home screen if I don't have to. But I'm not going to turn it off here because I want, for demonstration purposes, my interface to look like yours. But that's how you can get around that. All right, so we've got Adobe Stock integration. I just did a tutorial on that. It's my newest tutorial on YouTube. And we can go into here and we can add free stock images. Now notice, I'm clicking here, nothing's happening. And the reason for that is that we have to create a document first. Maybe we can get here. This is the second way we can do it. Notice it's grayed out. So it only places the stock images. So that means we need to start with something. So I'm going to choose new and we're going to create a document. Now I hope Adobe changes this where we can bring these images in, because the reason being, if I have to create a document or open a document now, this is 1920 by 1080, that means when I bring the images in, they're going to be restricted to the size. I've got a little workaround for that too, a little hack. So we could now grab it from here, we could grab it from that menu, or we can grab it from the taskbar. Now, something interesting about taskbar, first time you're going to see this add free stock images. It will change in a minute. So you'll get here, you're going to hit there'll probably be a little window where you have to agree. Now, these are royalty-free images. There's thousands of images here from Adobe Stock. And some of these already have cutouts. They have masks in them already. And we can see, we can browse through thousands and thousands and thousands of them. Or we can just search. Let's search ocean. And now we are searching and we're finding some images. I'm just going to drag this window open so we can see it better. All right, we've got a lot of pictures here. This is great. Look at all these images. And it keeps adding them as we scroll. So these are all the ocean images we could grab. So why don't we just open this one with the turtle, and then you're going to choose Add. Now, if you have a subscription to, a Photoshop subscription, meaning you didn't pirate Photoshop, you actually paid for it, you have these. You have access to these free images. And they're royalty free. You can use them in a commercial work. You can use them however you like. The only restriction I saw there was, as far as print, if you're doing over 500,000 pieces, so you literally have free use up to 500,000 pieces. You can use them on your website, you can use them whatever. All right, so we've dropped this image in here, but because we had to create the document first, we're still limited to the size of that document, which is 1920 by 1080. I could extend it and try and figure out how big it is, but because it's a smart object, I know if I double click a smart object, it's going to open it into a new document. And look at this, now it's 3000 by 2000. We can ditch the original one. Don't save, don't need it. Now we've got this image in its native resolution. So just a little hack I came up with to help you get that at full size. So you're not building a composite into a really small image. You want to be compositing into the full size image. So I would definitely do that. Someone says I sound double, like from two mics. I apologize for that. Is there anyone else hearing that? Let me know. And also, the replay will be live after this, so hopefully that replay doesn't have that issue that you're talking about. No, other people are not having that. Okay, so I'm not sure why it's happening on your end. Yeah, I not really anything I can do on my end about it, unfortunately. Oh, by the way, if you're trying to chat and you can't have access to the chat and you can't get into the chat, the reason is what you need to do is you need to subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, the photoshopCAFE channel, just click the subscribe button. It's free. And, if you want to unsubscribe later, that's fine. But we've just kind of set it that way so only subscribers can chat. And the reason for that is to just kind of keep spam out so we don't just have, that's literally that, so we don't get people spamming us. All right. So just thought I'd let you know that. And by the way, We have 52 likes. We have 139 people in here. So if you don't mind, hit that like button and see if we can get to 100 likes. That would be awesome. Appreciate that. All right, let's go back to this here. So we're going to go to, if we want to add more, notice something that happens here. The icon has now changed. So this is what I was saying. The first time you go in here, you're going to see add Adobe Stock, but it won't show that again. Now it's got this little icon here, and this is how we add them if we want to add an additional image. So I don't know, let's do a shark. And search. My voice is low. You have the volume at 100%. I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah, you could adjust both the YouTube volume and the computer volume. There is a volume control there on YouTube. All right, so we've got some sharks here. There's a hammerhead. Why don't we grab this hammerhead? We're going to add it to the picture. And that's right, Donna. Donna says you can control it both ways. Correct, you are. And we're adding it. There we go. Now we go to shark. So let's change the size. Maybe we could put that in the background. Hit enter. And we can remove background. Look at that. We just dropped it in there nice and easily. We could drop the opacity down a little bit. Just be careful if you do this to make it look in the distance. Make sure it's blank behind it. Because if, there's bubbles or another fish behind it, it's going to show through. So, we could start to build a composite here using this free Adobe Stock. All right. So Diane Allen is a channel supporter. Welcome to channel supporter. Well, thank you for joining. So you'll see a little button at the top here for member. There's a channel membership. That is another feature that YouTube has added. So you can just kind of join and then occasionally, I'll give discounts and different things like that. And yeah, that's just, and I do appreciate people supporting photoshopCAFE and supporting the channel. I thank you for that. All right, let's have a look. What else are we going to do here? All right, while we're in here, why don't we look at a little bit of AI? Who likes AI? Let me know on a scale. I know some of you like AI, some of you hate AI, some of you are neutral. Let me know 1 to 10 how much you like AI. 1 is you don't like it, 10 is you love it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, just drop it in the chat and let me know, if you like it or you don't. So we got a 9 here from Funhave a Tutti. Many thanks. AI 10. Okay, we've got a 5. Not using it much. We've got another 5, another 5. We've got an 8, 7.5. We've got a 2. Stuart doesn't like it. We've got a 8. We've got a 5, a 10, a 3. Donna says, I like it, but I'm not paying extra as I'm already paying for Pro. Fair enough. 10, 7, 7. If you're on Creative Cloud Pro, you don't actually have to pay for regular generative AI. The only thing you're paying for is the partner models, which would be Nano Banana, and that would also be Topaz. Everything else would be included under your Pro. You get an unlimited amount. And you can see that under your Creative Cloud, your app, you can actually see how many credits you have remaining. I'm not going to open it in here because, personal information might show and I can't edit it out since we're live. Okay, so we've got, people kind of all over the place. And I agree with you, Long Island Stew. I use AI as a tool, and you add your own touches to it. So I'm not generally really creating a lot of imagery from scratch using AI myself. Even though you could, like generating backgrounds and different things like this, I also use it as a tool, and I find it a very useful tool. All right, but it looks like the majority of people like AI. So why don't we look at something interesting here? So I'm going to show you, if you haven't already seen it, I'm going to show you some of the partner models. So I'm going to make a selection around the entire image. I'm not going to select any little areas. I could do that if I wanted. But what we're going to do is we're going to choose Generative Fill. Now, in Firefly, I would want to make a selection. In fact, why don't I do that right now? I'll make a picture here. We'll use Generative Fill. We'll use Adobe Firefly, and we'll do an eel. I don't know if this eel is going to look good or not, but we'll find out. So notice we're on image model number 3, and I'm going to choose generate. So it's going to generate an eel within this space. I have never tried this because I've never downloaded these images before, or even, there we go. We got an eel. It's not bad. That's actually pretty good. And we get 3 variations: second eel, third eel. Wow. Those are actually quite good. Sort of like a moray eel. I like that. And we can drop it back a little bit. Okay, so that's how we would do that using Adobe Firefly. Let me make a bigger selection around here. And I'm going to choose Generative Fill. This time we're going to use the partner model. As I said, the Adobe models here, if you have Creative Cloud Pro, you have unlimited usage of these. If you're using the photography plan, you get a certain amount, and then you have to buy the Firefly update. And then when you buy the Firefly subscription, that will also give you unlimited normal usage. All right, so let's go here. But these partner models here, we've got Flux Context Pro and Gemini 2.5 Nano Banana. By the way, Gemini 3 came out yesterday on Google, but that's not the image model. It's just the AI model, kind of like ChatGPT kind of thing, the chatbot. They haven't updated the image model just yet. All right, so Flux gives you a more kind of photorealistic kind of a result. Gemini gives you a more, let's say, a more beautiful result. Not necessarily as realistic, but it always looks good. And when I say it's realistic, I mean like it was shot with studio lighting for everything that you create. So let's go in here, and we're going to have put a whale in the background. And we're going to use Gemini, and we're going to generate. So let's see what we've got here. Rosie likes to use it for expanding photos. Don't like the new generated fill options. Use too many credits. Yep. Eels are usually in the rocks. Put it in the rocks, maybe. Okay, we could do that too. All right, so there's our whale in the background. And so I was not doing that right. Okay, well, let me show you something. Let me show you something with the eel. We're going to try and see if Nano Banana, by the way, that was it with the whale. Pretty realistic looking whale, although it looks like it's got a shark's tail. That's interesting. It's a blue whale in the front and a shark in the back. It's, I call it a mullet, but mullet is actually a type of fish. All right, that's funny. All right, so we're going to make the selection here. And under Generative Fill, I'm going to do the eel, and I'm going to say move the eel to the rocks. And we're going to change this to Gemini and let it do its thing. All right, so let's see how well it can do it. So that will be for Susan Weber. Let's see how well it does. All right, look at that. We've still got the other eel, but look at this. It's put an eel in the rocks for us. Now, if we wanted to remove the other eel, I could. I'm just going to create a composite layer, which just means I'm just going to hold down all the keys and it's just going to merge the layers into a new layer. See that? So let's have a look at another tool. Another new feature is the remove tool. Remove tool itself is not new, but they've got some new options here. So we can use generative fill now and we can choose remove. Now here's the thing, when we use the remove tool, let's go to the remove tool down over here. I can paint with the remove tool or I can remove here. Now the remove tool I don't believe uses generative credits. So we're using the remove option. And boom. All right, so we got rid of the extra. And we can see right there. So we were able to get rid of that extra eel. And now we've got our eel coming out of there. Now there's other things that this could do. But one of the things you have to be aware of too is once we start going into Nano Banana, which is what we're using here. Let me just go down. Notice we're losing resolution again. Because Nano Banana is limited to 1K resolution. So this is one of those cases where we're like, okay, we started with 3K, but we've lost a lot of quality. This is where we could go in and do generative upscale. Use gigapixel. Just do it 2x, and watch this. It's going to rebuild some of the detail that has been lost, that's been soft. Let's see how it does. Just going to take a moment here. Let me look at any questions or anything like that. How in the world can we find our available points? In your Adobe Creative Cloud account, which you would see your little Adobe icon up here, you will open your account and it will show your name. Where your name is, click on your name and then it will show you exactly how many credits you have assigned to you and how many you have used. All right, so let's zoom out here. All right, so if we look at this, notice we've got our detail back again. And this is at 6,000. So we've got detail here, we've got detail there. So this is how you could work with AI and then recover some of the quality of the image by using that generative upscale. Kind of works quite nicely. All right. Let me talk about another tool that probably nobody talks about very much, and that is the star tool. Now, if you're a graphic designer or a photographer who likes to do creative things, let me show you something. The star tool has been updated and we can change a lot of different things with it. We can change the number of points. We can go all the way down to a triangle. We can change the radius, the outer. See that? The outer radius, so we're more like a starfish, or we can change the inner radius. And of course we can go on here and we can drag in here. Give it rounded corners. Add more points. And as we go here, we can add more or less points. See that? So we can turn it into little clouds. So there's a lot of different things we can do. You know, make it start to look like a speech bubble. And we can adjust the shape. So as you see, you know, may not be the most exciting feature for a photographer, but for a designer or someone that is creating different types of shapes and doing design work, this is really amazing. Or maybe you want to do that as seen on TV splash, you know. All right. So the other thing too, when we're talking about high res, someone was asking about that. The actual Topaz plugin itself, like if you go on Topaz and subscribe, it does give you more resolution and it gives you more options than what you're getting here for the generative upscale. So depending on what your needs are, you know, for a lot of people, using this generative upscale here is going to work nicely. Even if you don't get a ton of these If you have the Creative Cloud Pro, you actually get to do a lot of images. But if you're doing, thousands of images or dozens of images every single day, then consider getting the Topaz subscription instead. That's what I would say. But if you're only doing a few and, it's costing you, a penny, or I think it's like half a penny or something each time you use it, that actually makes a lot more sense than having to buy a separate subscription. All right, so what else we got here? Gotta go, Drew. Hey, it was great seeing you, Drew. It's Andrew Kavanagh. By the way, he runs a Photoshop Lightroom group on Facebook. So if you search for Photoshop and Lightroom, join the group. It's a great group. All right, so what else have we got here? Let's look at one other thing here. And, at this point, too, feel free to drop some questions if you guys have any questions about, Photoshop here, or any Photoshop questions. Really, just drop them to the chat, and we'll see what we can do. Spend a few minutes doing a chat at the end. We've gone almost an hour now. Taking into account that false start, which I apologize for once again. One other thing I do want to mention. I don't know if you're aware. A lot of you probably already do know, but I do want to let you know this. I'll put it into the chat. I have just updated my flagship course. When I say my flagship course, this is my course I have been doing for, I don't know, almost 20 years. Something like that. It's the 11th or the 5th, I don't know. It's the 11th edition of this. So this is Photoshop 2026 with digital photographers. It is 99 lessons, 12 hours, and it just kind of covers everything. So I'm sure a lot of you already have it. Let me know if you got this already. But this just teaches everything you need to know about working with Photoshop and images. And I've just completely re-recorded this every single lesson, except for one. I did one pickup with the clone stamp tool. Everything else is recorded brand new and fresh for Photoshop 2026. So all the tools are worked into all the workflows. So whatever you're doing, all the new tools are in there. So I updated every single workflow. And this also comes with all the practice images so you can follow along. And I'm just going to let you know, and then we'll move off this, that I am going to give you a special, if you don't have it, for the live stream. And this is the same special we used for our launch week. And that is the code. You get $30 off if you use the code LIVE20 PSC. I don't know why I made that unreadable. There we go. And that's at photoshopcafe.com. You can find the course there. I put the link into the chat. I'm also going to put the discount in the chat, and then we are going to move on. So that's the code to put in here. Oh, you have my book from 2001, Chuck. That's awesome. Which book was that? And Joe wants more live shows. Yeah, I'm sorry that we haven't done as many. We're planning on doing these. I'm going to try and do them at least once a month. I mean, who wants them? Do you think once a month is good? Or do you think twice a month? Or what would you... I don't know right now that I have the, just the energy to do them weekly. Donna's saying once a month is good. All right, so let's see what we can do about doing some more. And meanwhile, I'm going to pull up another thing I want to show you. Oh, I want to show you this. This is really cool. All right, so this is about changing colors. So when you go to adjust colors, this adjust colors works, well. We could choose these colors and we can change them, right? We could change the skin tones, which, we don't really need to do, but I'm just showing you. But one of the things is changing white to a color. It's hard to get a lot of color into that white. Look at that. Even if we turn saturation all the way up, we can sort of get it in there, or trying to change black can be difficult. So I've got a cool little trick here for you. So I'm going to reset this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a selection tool. And by the way, a lot of people don't know about this. The object selection tool. You've got two options here, rectangle or lasso. This is a smart selection tool. You tell it, hey, I want to select this white shirt. Notice I've gone over in some areas. I haven't covered it in other areas. That smart selection will snap to that object. I love the object selection tool. Very, very cool. All right, so now that we've selected this, we're going to go under the hue saturation. And now I'm going to I'll just drag the properties out so you can see it. I'm going to choose colorize. Now we can change the color of this, but notice it's still struggling, even if I increase the saturation. This is the trick. I've seen people use hue saturation and they use this lightness slider to lighten and darken images. Don't do that. Use levels or curves to lighten and darken images. What this lightness for is if I take this to the left, now this becomes a gray, which means I can put solid color in here now. So if you want to change the color, make it darker. Because when you're here, you're just trying to change white, which notice the shadows are changing because they're gray. But if we darken the image, we can go there, we can use saturation, we can literally dial in almost any color we want. In fact, I'm going to grab this blue tone. And I'm going to get exactly the same blue. So we changed white to a color. We're going to change black to exactly the same blue. So what we're going to do is go back on the image, make the selection this time with the girl with the black shirt. Oh, didn't do a good job. Let's just make it bigger. There we go. See how cool how well that tool works? And by the way, if I got the hair by accident, if you use the minus, see how the minus is taking it away from there? Oop, that's good enough. All right, so now we're going to go in and create another hue saturation adjustment. And I've got a little secret trick coming up in a second here. So we're going to choose colorize again. Trying to change that color, it's better, right? But once again, take it from black, and that was kind of a dark gray, is why we're getting some result. But if we push this lightness up, now we can get a much better result and find any color we want. Now I want to match these two. Let me show you a really easy way to do that. Grab the first one, note the hue and the saturation. 221, 68. Let's go to here. 221, 68. And now all we're going to do is adjust the lightness. And boom, we've got the same color. Maybe wind it back one tick. About there. And look at that. See how easy it is to match those colors like that? Really, really easy. All right, so let's see what we've got here. Any more? Oh, wow. So Chuck has Photoshop 7 trade secrets. Yeah, that's how I met Dave Cross. So this is a funny story about that. In fact, I think I have the book. Let me grab it here. One second, I've got it. And let's have a look here. I'm going to see if this will let me show you the camera. Yep. Okay, so this is the book. This one here, right? Photoshop 7 Trade Secrets. So there's 4 authors in here. I'm going to tell you something really scandalous. Why not? Hope you don't mind. So this is how I met Dave Cross. So the interesting thing is, when we did this book, they asked us to write, how many chapters are there? Yeah, exactly 8. So they asked us to write 2 chapters each. And then they also asked us to write 2 additional tips or 2 additional tutorials for the other chapters. So basically, you write 2 chapters and then you contribute to everyone else's chapters. So here, you want to hear the scandal? All right. So pretty much, Dave Cross and I wrote the additional material. The other authors wrote a little bit. I'm not saying they didn't, but they didn't write very much additional material. And in the end of this, Dave Cross and I, well, there's 4 of us, so that means we were supposed to write 1/4 of a book each. Dave Cross and I pretty much almost wrote the whole book. Not all of it, obviously. The other authors did their part, but 3/4 of this book was Dave Cross and I, which I thought was funny because I contributed a lot of extra stuff, so did Dave, and that's how we talk with each other. It's like, oh, we seem to, have done most of the book here, which I thought was funny. So, yes, so I co-authored a book with Dave Cross back in the day. Oh, I've got something even more scandalous. Hang on. Let me see. Where is it? There we go. All right. So you really want some scandal. Okay. Check this out. Dave Cross with hair. Yep. And me with hair. All right. So I thought that was funny. I mean, these old books there's still some great tips in these old books. And by the way, my newest book is in Italian. So I did the book Generative AI in Photoshop. And it's just being translated into Italian. So if there's anyone there that speaks Italian, you can get the Italian version of it. It's in English too, of course. All right, what other questions we got here? Let's see. Questions and comments. I don't think anything private there. Yeah, let's just put the comments on the main screen. So, let's see, it's a cool feature, one I didn't know about. Okay, so we got any questions here? I miss your life. Oh, we talked about that. Use AI to restore the hair. Yep. I'm just waiting for that AI in real life that will, restore it for real, right? Not really into the idea of, doing, plugs and stuff. I'm good. All right. So anyway, thanks guys for joining us. It doesn't look like there's really any other questions here. So took us a little bit get things going, but now I know what I need to do on the software, which was actually going back to the old software, which I was surprised it still worked, fortunately. But next time we do one of these, I'll have all of those ironed out, and let's do another one soon. So we're gonna try and do one a month. If that's sounds like that's what you'd like to see there, looking at the chat there. Oh, by the way, another thing I do want to mention. I don't know if you know, but spent a lot of time on that. We updated the website. And I do want to show you that photoshopCAFE. There's some significant things on the website. Let's go there. So let's see how this works on this browser. Okay, so one of the significant things about the website, by the way, you can close that, you hit the little X. It's way, 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 way faster. So if I click here, it's fast. And so a lot of people don't realize if we go under free tutorials, you can view by category, or you can just click there to see all the free tutorials. The categories are on the side. But every tutorial that I do that you see on YouTube, this is the one I put up yesterday, or maybe the day before, I have written steps. So every single tutorial that I post, there's a few exceptions, but most of them have the written steps. So here's one, the topaz, and you can see written steps are there. Now, if this type is too big, it scales, so you can scale it down. And of course, it works on mobile nicely. The text also scales. So this is something that, because I know my eyesight's not what it used to be. So it makes it easy. If you expand the browser, you can get this text quite large. Look at that. Makes it easier to read. So that's another thing that I did want to mention on there. The other thing is the search works really well now. So if I hit search and I do layer mask, we can click here. Oh, I forgot to put the screen, didn't I? I'm sorry, Bruce. I forgot to show the screen. Yep. I see Bruce is calling me, and that's my show the screen. Here we go. Sorry. All right. So we're back on the screen. I always forget to do that. All right. So this is going to say, here's the website. I just wanted to show you it's fast. So just repeat that. We could go into free tutorials. There's 700 free tutorials in here. And pretty much all of these tutorials, they all have written steps. So if you need to brush up on something, or you want to skim it, or you don't want to watch the video, or you want to refresh, whatever, you can do that. And you can share them. You can share them on a mobile phone as a text message. If you just click here, you can open your messages, send it directly, or you can share it on social media, whatever. All right, so those are the free tutorials. Here's the categories, all these different categories we can sort by. The search works really well. Let's try searching for something like fix edges. And so you could search from the top bar, or you could search from here. And look at this, fix edges. Look at that. It actually works now. It works really well. The search did not work too well on the previous version of the site. And the old site was slow, in case you didn't know. So I'm very happy. This is lightning fast. Other things that are in here too is if you want to see the latest features inside of Photoshop or Lightroom, just go here and we say, hey, let's see the new Photoshop features. They're going to be listed here. And you can go back in time, back, you can go all the way back. All right, so that's another thing. Or you can, of course, you can go to those pages. I can just, I can click there. And Lightroom, same thing. Want to see the new features in Lightroom, just click here. There they are. And this goes all the way back to Lightroom 2. So this is a complete archive of all the features going way, 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 way back. Let me just show you here. Yes, it is Lightroom 6, Lightroom 5, 4, Lightroom 3, and yeah, CS5. All that stuff is all here. So if you want to go back in time, or you just want to see what's new, just click here. And actually, if you just click that button at the top, you'll see what's new in Lightroom and Photoshop. So at any time there's a new release, I usually have these tutorials up on release. So if you want to know what's new, it's always there. Okay, so what else have we got? Live streams are here. So all these live streams are going to be archived. Yeah, it's fast, right? Donna's noticing how fast the website is. And this is while I'm streaming too. So we've got the live streams here. These are all here. And then, of course, we've got premium. All our courses are here. Yes, this is all my courses. And you can sort by what you want to, design, drones, whatever. If you want a drones one, they're there. You want Lightroom. You want design, photography, so those are all the premium courses. Then reviews. I love to do reviews and, so some of these tech reviews, but usually, it's stuff that's related, Wacom tablets, monitors, computers, drones, stuff that you're going to be using with Photoshop. Then there's, interviews and all that stuff. The contests are just archived. We're not running any new contests right now. Gallery, if you want to see some of my work, you can go by the different categories. Some of my compositing there, I guess, and drone photos, whatever. You can look at that. And in freebies, this takes you to the vault. Now, if you're part of this mailing list, you have access to this vault already. And this is just all the stuff is free. If you haven't signed up, just drop your email in there. It will unlock it, and you get access to all that stuff for free whenever you want. So anyway, that's the new website. Figured I should probably mention it for you because put a lot of time into making that website better. And of course, if you've got any suggestions and other ways I can improve the website where it could be better for you, just feel free to reach out there and let me know, because you can hit customer support on any of the pages and contact me and just let me know. I'm happy for any suggestions too. All right, so I remember the world without Lightroom. Amazing how far things have come, right? No kidding. So anyway, and I thank you all for hanging out, and yeah, let's do another one soon. So once again, thanks for showing up, and we'll see you next time. Oh, the replay will be up momentarily. YouTube will post it whenever it's ready. All right, see ya. Oh, and thank you, Bruce. Once again, thank you, Bruce, for your help keeping everything going and reminding me that I didn't show my screen, which I forget every single time. All right, thanks, y'all.